Clog almighty Michael van Gerwen became the Clockwork Orange of Ally Pally by clinching the Triple Crown. Riding out the brief storm of his four-set lead being cut in half, Van Gerwen landed his third world title at the William Hill PDC Championship with a 7-3 win against Michael Smith. After a celebratory war dance across the stage, MVG took the £500,000 swag, the richest payday in darts history, and crowed, "This is the best feeling you can have." I was a bit nervous, of course, but I knew the importance of this match and my body was pumping. Michael always makes it hard for me and he will win this trophy. It was not a classic final. In keeping with much of the tournament, it was a letdown like the punchlines in your Christmas cracker jokes. But Van Gerwen, the best player by far in an event which takes longer than the Olympic Games, deservedly became the first champion to win a third PDC crown since Phil Taylor 22 years ago. He has averaged 100+ on this stage in 19 consecutive matches, and although his going rate of 102.21 was at the lower end of his scoring power, it was good enough. Smith, who has never won a TV major, suffered from stage fright and didn't start playing until he was 4-0 down. If he is as nervous and ham-fisted when he gets married on Saturday, he will drop the rings and rearrange his vows unintelligibly. Silence is golden, unless it's an Alexandra Palace crowd stupefied by one-way traffic more exasperating than the Hanger Lane gyratory a dozen miles round the North Circular. And for long periods of a mismatch so disappointing that the first half was an ordeal to watch, the huddled masses fell eerily quiet. Van Gerwen we can deal with in short measure. After Taylor, he is going to be the greatest player of all time. But for poor Smith, orange is the new bleak. Every time he gets near the treasure chest, he finds Van Gerwen wearing the keys like a codpiece. In the Premier League playoff final last May, MVG averaged a monster 112 and blew him away 11-4. And in a masterpiece of anticlimax, he came up well short again. In the first final between two players under 30 since Keith Deller's sensational 138 checkout toppled Eric Bristow 36 years ago, Smith scattered his darts across the target like a bag of nails falling out of the attic. Cheered to the rafters during the walk-on preliminaries, his body language betrayed him like a playground snitch. Too often he was a portrait of frustration, drooping shoulders, shaking head, muttering sweet nothings to his entourage and buckling under pressure like a sumo wrestler's hammock. For a player nicknamed Bully Boy, it was ominously prophetic when Smith lost the closest to bullseye shootout backstage for the right to throw first. It was even more forbidding for the underdog when Van Gerwen took out 129 on the bull to open his account. And when Smith missed 10 of his first 13 shots at a double, allowing Van Gerwen to abscond into the night with a 2-0 lead, the writing was not just on the wall. It was trailed in plumes of smoke across the dark North London sky. Giving Van Gerwen a 2-set advantage is like giving Lewis Hamilton half a lap advantage in a Grand Prix. He disappears over the horizon. Once MVG had gone 4-0 in front, it was not a question of whether he would wear the crown again. It was only whether he would administer a first whitewash in the final since Phil Taylor left Peter Manley at the starting gate in 2006. When Smith squandered 4 darts to reduce the deficit to 3-1, we feared it was more likely than possible. At least he summoned the pride and accuracy to knock out 124, treble 20, treble 14, double 11, and break his duck. And before you knew it, back-to-back bullseye finishes had halved the deficit to 4-2.